think one of the biggest questions recently in politics, especially with the emergence of social media, with people pushing their agenda through social media, would be how do trends like masculinity, like probably feminism in some way, but it's probably a bit gone by now. How do those trends, in your opinion, shape the minds of young people?
I think a big factor is the technology, and the technology fuels the trends. So the technology in this case is the online world, social media. We've had this new revolution, in my opinion, bigger than the industrial one, and we're about to have another one that's the AI revolution that's going to be even bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And that affects the trends because it flips the incentive models. So before, you had newspapers and they had certain incentives at play that would lead to certain news stories, certain articles. The medium is a message, right? And that affects how information is conveyed. Now, it's different because we've got the internet. We've got things like Twitter, where if you write a provocative tweet, you're going to get interactions, you're going to get likes, you're going to get hate comments, but those hate comments are going to fuel more people to get to your post, and then you're going to get more people liking it, and it just keeps on spiraling. So what you want to do there to earn money from Twitter, to gain followers, to gain traction, is be provocative. That then leads to trends that might not even be a reflection of what people actually think. It's just what people use to benefit themselves in a very individualistic, selfish way. You see 10% of people on Twitter make 92% of the noise. I think that's very telling with how trends are created now. Trends are no longer created by this wisdom of the crowds, where everyone comes to this perfect utopian general consensus and then they follow the trend. You've got these trailblazers like there always are, but they're in a much smaller minority now, and they can impact the culture in a magnitude of the magnitude that they can impact the culture is so unprecedented. Everything's on steroids now, literally, just the speed of the internet, the reach you can get. And not only is it the reach you can get instantly whilst sat on the toilet tweeting, it's that you no longer have the barrier of institutions where people have been vetted, they've gone and got a degree, maybe for up to 7 years or 4 years standard or 3. No, anyone can start a trend now. And that's both exciting and terrifying.
And now those trends are being more and more vetted by the government. So governments are trying to, of course, get hold of social media in some way to just control what people are trying to say. Of course, for people not to convey the message that the government doesn't want. For example, in Ukraine, it's not really good to say something against Ukraine, right? Because we're in the war. And as a politician, I know that very well. But tell me something about social media influencing. You've been in this sphere for a while now, and are you planning to make a living off of that, or do you consider it more like short-lived? All those trends, it's going to eventually expire, and people are going to become less interested in you.
I think whether people stay interested in me depends on the value that I can provide them. So as long as I keep on providing value, then I will grow my platforms and that'll be sustainable and I'll build a community. But I think these things are going to keep on growing. Social media is going to keep on growing. And what fascinates me is the shift now from maybe 2 or 3 messages being conveyed to every single person having their specialized algorithm tailored to them. And it means that you've got this concept of, I think it's the omni-cause that Mary Harrington calls it. And it's this idea that you can have, because of social media algorithms pushing certain messages, one cause that people stand for. People wearing the Palestinian keffiyeh whilst also campaigning against climate change, whilst also campaigning against anti-trans bigots. And these things have nothing in common, yet they're all uniting the same people. So you've got that on one hand, because algorithms can feed us the same messages. And I think that's true. But in a weird paradoxical way, you've also got this splintering of culture. And I don't want to go off on a tangent away from your question too much, but it's so fascinating how you've got these trends that do unite people and these causes that have nothing to do with each other politically, that people all root for because they want to be part of that tribe. At the same time, the actual thing that matters, which is culture and having unifying ideas and even things as trivial as memes that you can all relate to, they're all getting placed into their own very thin echo chambers. And I think that's dangerous.
And what's been interesting about algorithms is we're getting feed exactly what is going to provoke us or what we're going to like, but more that's going to provoke us, especially on X after Elon Musk, of course, has purchased X. I know many of my friends who are more left-wing, they have abandoned X completely because they say they cannot bear the fact that it's always provocative stuff. It's always pictures, it's always images, it's always text that's being fed to you, that is going to get you enraged and provoke a reaction so that you have to write something. But I think Instagram and YouTube is kind of different than X. How is there such a difference? Because while I've been using Instagram, it's been such a gap between me using Instagram and Twitter, because Twitter is just short. It's not even content. It's just short replies, short messages, and Instagram is usually full-on content, reels, trying to convey a certain message.
Well, I think Twitter's unique in that it just does have a particular political leaning right now, and I wouldn't be afraid to call that out. And I think people all know it, that Twitter is way more right-wing now. Maybe that's because of snowflakes leaving Twitter and going to Blue Sky. Maybe it's because there was a bit of a takeover from the right. Who knows? I think it's a bit of both. But you just need to look at the app functions. So Twitter, the timeline that you see, is nice. You can just show your following. But when you open up the app, it's not on your following. It's on your recommended. TikTok, it's also recommended. It's your For You page. Instagram, it's different. It's people that you're following. It's non-chronological. So it's not based on when they uploaded. It used to be, before 2016, Instagram feeds were chronological. So it would just be, my friend uploaded this many minutes ago. My other friend uploaded this before. Now it's the influencer that I follow. They uploaded something super cool and that got a load of likes. So it's been pushed to the top of my recommended tab.
Sense.
But on Instagram, it's still much healthier. And that's why I'll say I spend too much time on Instagram. I think a lot less than most people, but the reason I find myself attracted to that more than other platforms is because it is still people that you follow. So you can very much cultivate a good crowd on Instagram that make you a better person. Compared to Twitter, it's just the Wild West. You're at the mercy of whatever was the most provocative tweet. And the difference between Twitter and TikTok, when both of them have the For You page, is that Twitter's just a lot less regulated. There's a lot more freedom on there, and there are trade-offs to that. Freedom's great, but it comes with consequences. So I think there's trade-offs to everything. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. And I liked the idea of Twitter initially and the freedom, but I just see the direction it's heading in is absolutely insane. And I'm like, where does it go from here?
What is your experience with social media? How did it shape your mind in terms of political beliefs? I can say every person is influenced by social media, especially when it comes to politics in some shape. And the same as I have been when I first started my political journey, I thought, oh, this is coming up, this is cool. And it's very easy to kind of illustrate some sort of fear through social media because it's images, it's all colorful. You can add music and it's going to be all cool. Especially podcasting. Podcasting is more utilized by right-wing media. What was your experience? Surely you care about politics, you care about societal issues. How did your views maybe change over time? And did that have anything to do with social media?
I think the main formative experience for my views was the job I used to do producing trigonometry. That was so formative, and I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity. And that built and altered on a lot of loose ideas that I had from scrolling online. I think the big thing is that everything is very shallow and misinformation spreads very quickly and very easily. what's the answer to that? Fact checking, maybe, but who's doing the fact checking? There are all of these things caught up. I'd say the biggest influence social media had on me was probably just fortunate, but I managed to fall into positive echo chambers. I managed to guide myself into positive spirals. So things like choosing fitness influencers that are looking after their bodies, and you do the same, you go to the gym and you become a more hardworking, industrious individual. So I think the biggest thing for me was the ability to have a question, have an idea, and search it up, and it'd be answered straight away. Like that's incredibly powerful. So I would say in my case, and I'm probably ignorant to a lot of the things that social media has shaped with me. Like it's just, I haven't noticed them because they've snuck in, but a lot of social media, and I think Freya India speaks about this as well, who's amazing, is that social media is ultimately like a reflection of you as a person, and you take it in the direction that you want to go in, and it amplifies that. So maybe I was dragged in certain ways, but I think actually I was able to drag myself in directions even further and learn more than anything.
So you've been able to control yourself to a certain extent.
I guess so. That's one way of putting it. Look after myself, answer questions that school didn't answer, parents didn't answer. And I think that's why I'm very white pill, actually, for the amount of complaining I do about the internet, is that it can answer anything. Just fucking search it up, bro. You need to cut that.
Have you ever fallen for...
search it up, bro.
Have you ever fallen for conspiracy theories? Like actually believed in one?
I'm naturally very skeptical of conspiracy theories.
To any information that's provided online?
Definitely not. I think you can have a radar for these things. And if it's one person saying it, then like, yeah, it might be true, but it's unlikely. And then it sort of reaches a point where quite a few people are saying that it's true. And you're like, okay, this is maybe worth investigating. So I think maybe me having that view on things, I will never be first to an issue to like uncover